loves, my name is Paige.
I'm Dash.
And this is Pages with Paige.
And Dash.
And today we're going to be doing the Avatar book tag. This was originally created by a Clockwork reader, and I'll leave a link to their original video in the description box below. First question. Most important question.
Yes.
If you were a bender, what would be your element?
I think I would very much be an airbender. Like, to be honest, I was very easygoing and free.
We have made a little tweak just to the names. We've kept content the same, but Ash felt that these fit a little bit better, so that's what we're going with. We'll leave a link in the description to the questions anyway.
I'm a bit of a hardcore Avatar fan, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Like, it's got to be what you feel comfortable doing. And then I have seen episodes here and there. I know the main gist, but I don't really know it. So what kind of a bender would I be?
You're both waterbender and firebender.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also stubborn like an earthbender, so...
I think I've always had an affinity towards the waterbenders because I didn't want to be a firebender because I knew they were the bad guys.
Yeah.
But my soul is, and I like the color blue more than red, but in my soul I'm like, I'm probably a firebender.
You're probably a firebender. You're feisty, you go for what you want, you're very productive when you want to be, but will burn down everything in your path if it's going to stop you.
Okay,
yeah,
I accept it. I'm a firebender. The questions are divvied up into each element, and so let's get started. So the first is the water element.
For the first one in water, we have Katara and Sokka. And so for best sibling relationship, what did you have for best sibling?
So I had Edward and Alphonse, or Al, from the Full Metal Alchemist series. I love their dynamic. They would go to the ends of the earth for each other, and I just think it's a really beautiful story, and their relationship is just fantastic.
I had the Baudelaire siblings from Series of Unfortunate Events. Just the way that they all work together, each of them knows they're unique but uses their strengths to assist all of them out of the bad situations that they're constantly getting in from beginning to end, but knowing where they fall short and where the others can pick up and being able to like accept that and not be really negative about it. Always thought it was a really good sibling relationship.
Yeah.
So next we have UA for favorite star-crossed lovers. I'm bowing out of this one. I don't read many books that have romances in them, to be honest. So I can't even think of one.
Yeah, and like the ones that do have romances in them aren't usually star-crossed lovers.
No.
For me though, I'm going with Saga by Brian Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I adore this series. It is a Romeo and Juliet retelling but set in space. They're from opposing species and they have a baby and they're not meant to do that. So everyone's after them, and yeah, it's like a massive space opera. It's fantastic, but definitely star-crossed lovers. Really great graphic novel series. Can't wait for it to come back from hiatus.
The last one for water, we have 3, which is Bloodbending, a book with a disturbing or unsettling concept. So for that one, I have Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. I finished this earlier this year, and yeah. Putting this book into words is an interesting one, because I can describe the start and where it ends up. Two completely different things. And what did you have for Bloodbending?
So for that, I could have gone with quite a few. I decided to stick with what I know, and that is Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. This is the first in the Hannibal Lecter series where we get introduced to him. He's sort of assisting on a case, but it's not like his story. But yeah, this is following a psychopathic serial killer. I could have gone with Silence of the Lambs because for me that sort of seems a little bit more disturbing, but I don't know if people know what the villain is doing to begin with, so I don't want to do that as a spoiler. But this one also really fucked up. I found that I was more intimidated and more scared of this than I was of Silence.
Moving on, we're on to the next element, which is Earth. So we're starting off with number 4, which is Toph, and a character whose strength surprised you or surprised the other characters in the book. I'm going with Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. Edward obviously throughout it, because he is a little short guy, constantly gets completely underestimated by everybody, and then just turns around and is a lot stronger, a lot more talented in his alchemy than anyone gives him credit for. So yeah, that's why I went with Edward from Full Metal.
And for my strength in character, I'm going with Grace from Amanda So Discreet by Mindy McGuinness. Mindy McGuinness writes a lot of strong characters. I think it's exceptionally crafted, and essentially what happens is Grace gets pregnant and she is locked away in a mental asylum. But then she meets Thornhill and he takes her under his wing and sort of gets her to give the strength and support behind him whilst pretending to be like she's been lobotomized and just completely stupid. So her strength in both maintaining the character of being subdued and not having the knowledge and capabilities of doing things in this Victorian setting to actually being able to do those things and be that strong, independent person is absolutely wonderful. So yeah, really enjoyed this book.
So for number 5 we have The Tales of Ba Sing Se. So this is the best short story or poetry collection. So for me, I went with The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I absolutely love this. I once sat there and tried to memorize as much of it as I possibly could because it was just, I absolutely love it.
And for myself, I went with Outnumbered Days by Neil Hilborn. It was tough. I really enjoy a lot of different forms of poetry. I'm not really one to just, this is my favorite. Like, I could think of 3 others at the moment that resonate with me as strongly as this does. But I've recently got this back in my hands. It was at my parents' and so I'm like, yes, give me all the love. I think Neil's way of, the whole composition of this poetry collection is done well because he continually spots Outnumbered Days throughout it and then intersperses it with other poetry talking about a variety of topics from mental illness, like love, first date, hard-hitting and also very joyous things, and how there can be a dichotomy between the two. It's fantastic, and I definitely want to reread this.
And number 6, we've got Best Warrior Characters, so that's Earth Rumble 6. Yeah, so Best Warrior Characters.
For me, I went with Alana from Alana the First Adventurer by Tamora Pierce, which is the first in the Song of the Lioness series. That is a lot of titles in a very short period of time. Alana wants to become a knight, and in this day and age, females can't become knights. She has magical roots and she represses them to gender bend and go in as a boy to become this knight. Shit goes down. These are fucking fantastic. I really enjoy these. I think she was a really strong warrior in building up her strength to be able to wield a sword, but then she also was capable with the magic abilities once she let that fly. So what was yours, Bubba?
So mine was Drizzt from the various different Drizzt books from the Forgotten Realms series. There's like 15 to the whole collection. There's a huge number of them. My dad introduced me to these and I just think he was one of the best kick-ass drow characters that came through the Fey Rune. So next we have Fire, and Zuko is number 7. So best redemption arc, a redemption arc that should have happened. I'm sort of cheating here because I'm going with Zuko because it's one of my favorite redemption arcs from like hands down anything. So
I went with redemption arc that should have happened, and I'm going with Foul is Fair by Hannah Kappen. I'm sorry, Kara, I love you, but this just felt flat. And I think it's because it is focused on revenge. I think it's a retelling of Macbeth or Hamlet, Shakespearean play. I've never read the source material, so this could have been enhanced if I had have read it, but I feel like there was so many opportunities to explore the character being redeemed rather than just seeking revenge. And like on the back it literally says like, I say revenge. So going in, it's a revenge story, but I feel like it would have lent itself better to having at least one character be redeemed, whereas that's not the case. I reckon that should have happened.
Okay, so number 8 is Iroh, so the wisest character. Once again, I'm cheating. I followed the wisdom of Iroh himself constantly because he's like a real role model in my life. I grew up to Iroh's wisdom and I still live by it to this day because he's just so wholesome and he just wants the best for everybody and he's just so wise that's so helpful.
For my character, I went with Eileen from The Switch by Beth O'Leary. She is just a badass granny and I love her. She is willing to support anyone and everyone that comes into her life, and the advice that she gives, mostly the guy that lives in her granddaughter's flat and doesn't know how to cook or clean. I think there's some practical advice in there, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think she really helps make a lot of situations a lot better just with the advice that she gives. So I could think of a few wise characters, but she's the one that I really wanted to go with.
Yeah. Alright, so number 9 is Azula and its best downfall.
So technically it's not the book that I'm about to hold up, but the series overall. Yeah. Well, the next book in this series goes in a very different direction to this book. And one of the characters in this has a delicious downfall, and I really enjoyed it. But I don't want to give too many spoilers because if you haven't read this, it's going to impact on your series. So just know that someone gets their comeuppance and they're introduced into this book.
My best downfall, I went with Uriel from Library of the Unwritten. Now, if you haven't read the books, I don't want to give too much away, but the character itself is like bitch throughout the whole thing and deserves what she gets. Moving on to the element of air. So we're going number 10, we're going with Appa, which is favourite fictional animal or pet. So for me, I went with the direwolves from Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. Just the way that they're taken in and adopted, but they stick by the family. Each of their owners they are basically bound to and imprint onto and become their protector. And their sidekick throughout most of it is just, I really enjoyed that. And puppies.
And I went with Rikus from the Spellslinger series. This is the 4th one. It was just the most accessible. Rikus would not make a great pet. He likes to eat eyeballs, and he will let you know if you're coming too close to him by biting your fingers or scratching you or just being abusive in general. He wouldn't work for your pet because there needs to be a connection so you can actually hear what he's saying, but Kellen and him just make a formidable duo, and it's so fucking funny. I think as a pet, it's such brilliant comedic relief, and I just adore his little inputs and saying to Kellen like, hey, let's go beat this guy's up and rob his money and then I'm gonna eat his eyeballs. It's one of his favourite pastimes, so.
So for number 11 we have Aang, and that is the purest cinnamon roll. I've gone with Clara from Clara and the Sun. She was just the most pure positive force of energy, and still one of my favourite books that I've read this year. It's really such a different dynamic to all the doom and gloom books that have been coming out lately. And just how much she just was this positive force throughout the whole thing was just, it was so wholesome and I loved it so much, and she was so determined and so lovely to just do the best for everyone. And for you? For me, I'm going with Gal from Lightfall, the girl in the Galdurian. So let me see if I can find the cute picture. Tell me that's not a cinnamon character right there. He is just a gorgeous individual and I love it. But this first book just so wholesome. I have a strong need for more. So number 12, we've got Monk Gyatso, a stubborn character or a character who struggles to let go. So for myself, I went with Claire from Library of the Unwritten again, because constantly throughout the story we're exposed to how stubborn she is, but also in the different parts you get to see that she does struggle to let go. Like whether it was some of the books that she's she doesn't even let books out of the library because she just struggles to let go of what she's done in the past. And yeah, that's probably the best character I could think of at the time to describe. Yeah, those two features. For me, I really struggled because I just couldn't think of any, and then I thought of Pei from The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. She definitely has issues letting go, and it was great seeing a little bit of an asshole character in Becky Chambers' books. Normally they are sweet cinnamon rolls, but Pei sticks her ground. She does not want to let go of her beliefs and really struggles, especially in the later part of the book. There is an incident that occurs and she really needs to question her beliefs and go from there, and it was a very hard learning curve for her as well. Bonus roll time. Originally we had 12, but we decided to add number 13, which is The Cabbage Man! Not my cabbages! So, a Cabbage Man is a character you can't help but love, or that you wish there was more of.
I went with Liz from You Should See Me in a Crown. I'm really happy with how this ended, but I want more, and I absolutely adored her. I fell in love straight off the bat. This book just hits home in a variety of different ways. It's great quotes, great characters, and Liz just is so beautiful that I couldn't help but fall in love with her and want to spend more time.
Alright, so I went with Quoth from the Name of the Wind series. Now, much like all of the rest of the Rothfuss fans out there, we need book number 3. We haven't had enough yet. We need book number 3. We've waited long enough, Pat. Please, just please. I even bought the special hardcover pretty edition because I want to give you more money. Like, I will give you more money if you give me more books. So that's the Avatar book tag with a few minor alterations from the original.
Yeah, like that. It's literally just 2 name changes and an extra question just because we love the Cabbage Man.
My cabbages.
Why would you not love the Cabbage Man? These are just some of our answers to the Avatar book tag, again created by Hannah from A Clockwork Reader. Let us know your Cabbage Man.
A character that you either love or you want to see more of.
Can't get enough of.
Can't get enough of.
This is my Cabbage Man. Let us know in the comment who's your Cabbage Man. Ash, what's our code word?
Help! Help! Help!
So the code word's help?
Yes.
Okay. If you like this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of this mess and occasionally that mess, feel free to subscribe. And we'll hopefully see you in our next video. Bye!